Welcome back to Bitch We Got the Tea podcast. Today we about to cover part four of the White History, series. So part four, we're gonna get into some more earlier cultures that are tied and connected to this whole saga that's unfolding. So we're dealing with the Slab grave and the Ulaanzuukh cultures. These two cultures were the predecessors of the Turkic peoples and the modern Mongolian people, at least partially linked by historical and archaeological evidence. So let's jump on into our little map here. So the Ulaanzuukh culture from 1450 to 1150 BC. You see on the map here, it shows them in that red circle. You see below here, you have clearly what are early Chinese cultures. And then what's this? What did I say? The Tarim mummies. That's where the white
Mm-hmm.
Caucasian mummies were found on this piece of the map right here. And then we'll move on to the, next slide. But before then, yeah, you also got the Andronovo culture on here. You have the Sintasha culture, which we talked about last episode. All of them are clearly kind of shown side by side in their perspective areas that they, did their thing in. So you can kind of get that perspective. All right, so the Ulaanzuukh culture is saying it breaks down that basically um, they're from the late Bronze Age, Eastern Mongolia. It's likely that they preceded and was the origin of the Slab grave culture, which is why I decided to mash these two together. You have the predecessor culture, and then we'll cover the following culture, which is the Slab grave next. So it basically goes on to talk about the genetic profile of the individuals belonging to the Ulaanzuukh culture are genetically identical to the Slab grave culture, which is consistent with the hypothesis that the Slab grave culture emerged from the Ulaanzuukh. Pardon me. Genetically, the populations of the Ulaanzuukh culture were rather homogeneous and part of the ancient Northeast Asians. The ANA, I'm assuming that's like, obviously genetic marker or identifier. The Ulaanzuukh and the Slab grave individuals cluster closely together and are collectively referred to as the Ulaanzuukh slave grave genetic cluster. So, while we sitting here, y'all might be thinking, well, damn, why are he talking about these two cultures that clear that they appear to be, I guess a lot of, mostly Asian. The first culture is mostly Asian. The second culture, which is the Slab grave culture, you'll learn a little bit more in a second. But first, let's get into this map. So from this map, it's showing the areas that the different groups in this point in time kind of resided in. So you have the slab grave culture, which are the Proto-Mongols or the Mongolians. You have the UZ, slightly right outside of their territory over here, along with the Aryans, the Tocharians, the other group of UZ, so the greater and the lesser UZ, and then the other Turkic tribes that are off in the cut over here. All right. Once again, just trying to give perspective. You have the Tibetans down here as well. All right. So moving along, the slab grave culture from 1100 to 300 BC. They also were from the late Bronze Age coming into the early Iron Age Mongolia. It's talking about how the slab grave culture formed one of the primary ancestral components of the Zanyu, who I just talked about last episode, as revealed by genetic evidence. So, the ethnogenesis of Turkic peoples and the modern Mongolian people is at least partially linked to the slab grave culture by historical and archaeological evidence. So, going further, the slab grave culture is dated, from 1100 to 300 BC. And then the origin of this culture is not definitively known. However, genetic evidence is consistent with the hypothesis of a local origin dating back to the Bronze Age. So it goes on further to say that the people of the Ulaanzuukh and the slab grave culture are both closely related or associated with the ancient Northeast Asians. And then further down here, it just kind of goes into some more talk of just nearby tribes and stuff like that. But the kicker is the slab grave culture was superseded by the Zhangyu culture, which formed a vast empire stretching across much of the Eurasian world and saw the hybridization of Western and Eastern Eurasian populations and cultures. So that's why that one line right there is why I wanted to highlight these two other cultures, even though they were primarily Asian. Towards the tail end of that second culture is kind of breaking down a little bit of this mostly Asian culture started to intermingle with these Caucasians or with some Caucasians. So now it's starting to be more of a mixture of Caucasian and straight Asian that are now a whole starting to become a thing.
Mm,
Yeah. So then the
that's
next,
crazy.
so then to kind of cap it off, genetic evidence from several slab grave fossils suggests they were largely formed, from the ancient Northeast Asian DNA populations. Um, However, uniparental genetic evidence suggests the slab grave population has some West Eurasian ancestors. So, once again, as I always say, to simplify certain things, Caucasians, they are called Asian for a reason, which as we go step by step, you're going to learn more and more. The people who we clearly identify as Asian in modern times are the Eastern Asians. The people that they are referring to in this literature of Western Asians is the Caucasians. Because what? Them niggas got Asian up in there, and those are the motherfuckers that's documented as being there already, as exhibited by them 5,000-year-old mummies, which were found in the Gobi Desert right outside of China. We always coming back to that, but this is just to bring it all together. So further, it says, as of 2022, all sequence slab grave males had been identified as belonging to East Eurasian parental groups. On the other hand, slab grave maternal lineages are more diverse, with 65 to 70% being of East Eurasian origin, while approximately 28 to 36% were of Western Eurasian origin. So before I even go further and we go back to this map, East Asian, West Asian, where you have the UZ, who are clearly documented as the modern Caucasian, the Scythians, modern Caucasian, the Aryans, Tocharians, modern Caucasians. But these people kind of like in this little middle or this circle here, at some point, they begin to kind of, like I said, blend with the Caucasians that was on the outskirts over here, along with them, and then they end up forming these other little groups like the Turks, and then later on the Mongolians, which would come a little bit later. All right, so back to the rest of it. Oh, don't want to give out the secret for next chapter, but so the transition from the slab grave culture period to the Zanyu period was characterized as a massive increase of West Eurasian paternal ancestry, rising from 0 to 46%, which was not accompanied by the increased Western Eurasian maternal ancestry. This is consistent with a violent expansion of males with West Eurasian paternal ancestry or possible marriage alliances that favored such people. So basically, for all intents and purposes, by the time the slab grave people or their culture went to the next phase of history where they later became known as the Zanyu, these white males were intermingling more so with the Asian women to increase that intermixing to increase the mulatto population of that culture that would be identified even by other pure whites as them boys is mixed over there. They part Asian and part white to get mixed combined. So
Right.
they would kind of look they were easily identified by the Chinese who was like, we ain't fucking with them niggas. That's some other shit. And the white boys, the pure white boys, that was like, keep an eye on them niggas. But
Yeah.
and that will, wrap that portion up. So thank y'all for riding with us for part 4. Chapter 4 of the white history. It gotta be taught. Y'all gotta notice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all be in these
Vital.
y'all be in these spaces or wherever, going back and forth with these individuals who don't even know their own fucking history. You know what I mean? Nigga think he came from nigga think well, I came from the Clan McDougal in Ireland. No, nigga, you come from China, nigga. Fuck out of here.
know know your history so you could feel like you have, something to care about. I think knowing your history is really important, just in general, because it makes you feel like you actually are a part of something versus, not feeling like you're a part of anything.
Well,
I just
yeah,
wanted to say that.
no, that's cool. It adds to your self-esteem. It adds to your confidence. Why you think
Right.
everybody else get to have a parade? Irish Day Parade, Italian Day Parade, Puerto Rican Day Parade. Those parades are examples of your
Right.
heritage, the pride and the history that comes with knowing da 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 ba 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 and all
Hmm.
that shit. We the only niggas that they don't they try to cover and conceal and change shit up on some shell fucking game shit. But niggas is on the job out here slowly uncovering what need to be uncovered. But
Hmm.
in the process of uncovering this white history, we're gonna uncover a hell of a lot of black history. And see, I'm just doing this shit in reverse. You got mad niggas debating this and debating that. Like, all right, y'all stay over there, debate that shit. I'm going to show you the beginning where the ops came from, and by showing all the progression from BC to now, you gonna know by default who everybody else is that they encountered as we slowly, get from there to here. And like I said, I ain't got time to be going back and forth with these niggas no more. That was me in 2000, 2021, 2019, 2022. I ain't arguing with no nigga. I'm just dropping these fucking hot motherfucking tape mixtape joints on your ass. And But we'll be back. We'll be back with part
You take
five.
from it what you're gonna take from it.
Exactly. You either gonna open up or you gonna shut down. And I'm talking about the third eye.
Period.
What does it? King me. But with that said, though, I appreciate y'all, rocking with me this evening, and let me get on up out of here, and I'll catch y'all in the morning.
Peace.
Peace.